Good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for tuning in to watch this show. I'm super thankful to all of the members of the Upcycle Cloth Collective who are supporting our videos on our YouTube channel. Today, I feel very, very lucky to be speaking to Kerri Hollingsworth. Hello, Kerri, and if you will just please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your work with Upcycled Textiles.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me, Melanie. So my name is Kerri Hollingsworth, as you said. I'm an upholstery artist. So I actually, to give you a background, I made up that term because I was a standard furniture upholsterer, but I didn't think that upholsterer really sort of explained what I did. And because my passion is utilising all textile waste from my upholstery business to create artworks on the back of the chairs. So that's why I renamed myself an upholstery artist.
Oh, and I've seen your inspiring work. Artist is the right word for it. So if I understand you correctly, you have a commercial upholstery business also?
Yeah, so Antiquate, my business name is Antiquate, and it started off as a furniture, just a standard furniture upholstery business. So I did some commercial, some residential stuff. And it was through that I saw all the waste that was coming from my workshop, basically. And all, as you can imagine, gorgeous fabrics that were just little offcuts that you would cut once you've upholstered something and cut off where you don't need, and they'd just be really odd shapes. Obviously the bigger pieces could be used for cushions and that sort of thing, but yeah, just the all the long shapes got to me, and I thought I can do something with that. And even the trim that you use to cover up the tacks, on the edges of the chairs, yeah, those you never buy the exact amount because you're not sure how much you need. So there was always offcuts about this length, and I thought there's got to be something that I can do with that. So yes, it is a standard upholstery business. I still have a lot of clients that just ask for normal upholstered pieces of furniture, but my passion and what drives me within the business is the upholstery art side of it. So.
That's so wonderful. And how long have you been doing these art pieces for?
For 2 years. So it started only 2 years ago, yeah.
And how are you finding customers to buy those products? Because they're very, very kind of niche. I'm pretty certain it takes somebody, like not everybody wants a chair like that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's just that's something that I'm exploring as I go. I mean, like I said, the passion is there, and I think people are very intrigued by it. I've done a few exhibitions now, and I've had really beautiful feedback because it just, if anything, it reignites that conversation. It starts that conversation again about why I'm doing what I'm doing, and just makes people realize that you can do other things with scraps instead of just throwing them out and them going to landfill. There are other uses for them. This is just one. There's heaps of other uses for them. But yeah, just the fact that it starts that conversation is great. And finding customers, I mean, it's actually quite funny because you never know where they're going to come from as well. You never know who's going to be really intrigued by it. I had a gentleman that I met at one of my exhibitions, and he said he had walked past my stand numerous times and just glanced over and thought, oh yeah, that's nice and whatever, and just kept walking. And I was lucky enough to be a part of it was the trend tours. So they went around to 10 different stands and presented these stands, and basically told people that went on those who had bought a ticket onto that trend tour, they told them all about myself and my business and what it is that I do and why I do it. And so he happened to buy a ticket on this trend tour. And so it was while he was standing there listening to this lovely lady, Veronica, present my stand and what I do and why I did it, that his mind started to tick. And he went, oh, I've got my great-grandmother's scarf that I could have woven into a chair. I've got he was really big for his family history. So he had all these beautiful family memorabilia that he had in a cupboard, and he said he wanted to sort of present them somehow, and he had no idea how he wanted to present it. So it was just, he had the desire but didn't put it together with furniture until it was sort of presented to him. So I find that people come in different ways. They may see my chair, like my furniture, and think, oh, I've got a chair that I want that done to it. Or they may have the meaning first and go, oh, I could display this meaning on a piece of furniture. So it sort of comes both ways. It's really cool to see, you know, how people explore that idea themselves, and then when they get in touch, and we obviously go further and more in depth with the ideas and see what we can come up with for, you know, specifically for them.
That's so beautiful. I love that you incorporate their textiles into the piece also, as well as yours. It's such a wonderful weaving together of two worlds. It's really beautiful.
Yeah. And it's really about the sentiment too, because I want to create something that's so sentimental and beautiful for them, because I mean, it's not going in my home, it's going in their home. So it needs to mean something, whether it's got, you know, family history through it, or, you know, or if it's just a decorative piece. I really want it to speak to them. So, yeah.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And what does an average day of work look like to you?
Which day?
Everyone I speak to says the same thing. I think everybody working with upcycled textiles has slightly unconventional lives.
Right. So we live out, we've got 30 acres out in country Victoria in Australia. So we've got nature all around us, which is beautiful. We've got a 3-year-old daughter. So depending on if she's at daycare or not, hi, darling girl, speak of the devil. So when I get out to the workshop, it just depends on what I've got on. Sometimes it's just your standard furniture upholstery. So, I mean, even in standard furniture upholstery, it's every day is different. But when it comes to the upholstery art side of things and the creative side, it's just, oh my goodness, every day is different. How do I even explain to you? You can probably see up behind me, I've got all the fabric scraps there that are
delicious
hanging up. When I reupholster a piece, even if it's like the standard furniture upholstery, my mind is still in how can I reuse these pieces, because everything that I do, whether it's twine and I'm trimming the twine, I get the piece of twine and I'm like, okay, that goes with my twines, because I can use that for fringing in, you know, in the upholstery art. So it's always on my mind, whether I'm actually creating using upcycled textiles, or if I'm doing more of a standard upholstery work, but then obviously the offcuts are still placed aside for that perfect project that it's going to sort of go towards. So.
I love that, because most manufacturers who are producing really commercial stuff, their offcuts they would just decide to abandon or pass on to somebody else. And I love that you use up absolutely everything in your business. That's a really great model to kind of live out and teach to others. I think that's fantastic. You're doing a great job there.
Thank you. It was really that's really the driver behind my business. That's where it started. This idea started, and I don't want to sort of lose touch from that, because that, you know, that's where the passion is. So I want to make sure I stay true to what ignited this sort of idea in the first place.
And what do you feel your personal role is in the story of Upcycled Textiles? Do you feel you have a personal role to play?
I feel that more and more, yes, with especially with social media and how, I say how easy. It's taken a long time for me to be open, I guess, on social media. I was always someone that liked doing things in my workshop where no one could see and just figuring it out until it looks perfect and then putting it out there, you know, for social media people to see. But now, I mean, as I grow and evolve as an artist, I think it is so beneficial to see all the stages of it, even when I muck up, you know, even when the idea in my head isn't really coming out, I showcase that, because it shows trying. And I feel like if people if people that aren't yet on this, you know, eco-conscious journey or upcycling journey, if they only see the perfected side of it, then they're never going to feel like they're good enough to start. Where if they're seeing someone that they think, you know, has made it, or, you know, has got far in their journey, if they're seeing, you know, all the highs and lows of what they're doing, I feel that it's a lot more inspiring for other people to just give it a go, you know, because it's quite often the small steps that make the most difference, because the small steps, people realize, oh, I can do that, and get that little, you know, fire in their belly to keep going. So I do think I have a role to play that way. Yeah, sorry.
That's awesome. I love that you're willing to show your vulnerable side and your flops, because a lot of people are terrified of showing anything online that's not absolutely perfect. And
Yeah, I was the same, taken a while to get there, but yeah, absolutely.
okay, well, thank you so much, because I'm certain you're inspiring others in the community right now with your story. What would you like to see change in the current textile system?
Just the waste, just the amount. I feel like, I don't know if it's more, if I don't know if it's the consumer that wants to turn the blind eye, or if it's the manufacturers that are trying to cover up, or if it's both. It might be a combination of both. But I really think that it's time that we stopped turning a blind eye, not just to this. There's a whole bunch of issues that are, you know, obviously just sort of been highlighted, I guess, around the world. And I think textile waste is one that is increasingly evident to people, but I don't know if that's just because it's in my world and because I'm a part of a lot of groups like your group, and that I'm well aware of it, whereas I think there's still a lot of people that don't know about it. My journey for me, being eco-conscious and just aware of my impact on the planet, that just came from a simple conversation with a girlfriend of mine, and that was probably maybe 3 or 4 years ago now. But prior to that, I was just doing things that I thought were very normal, and in society they may be considered normal. Like, for example, the conversation that I had with my girlfriend was about plastic toothbrushes. I know this isn't textiles, but still under the same sort of banner of, you know, I had said how much I brush my teeth, and once I finish a toothbrush, I throw it in the bin, don't think about it again, you buy another one and you brush your teeth again. It's just a normal sort of habit. And then when I realized that, I think the statistic in Australia, it's like 30 million toothbrushes, plastic toothbrushes, go to landfill every single year.
Wow.
Yeah, just in Australia. And it just, my tracks, I went, wow, hang on a second. I thought that was just so normal. So what else am I doing that is actually really bad for the environment? And textiles was certainly one of them. Like, I used to shop quite a lot, and not necessarily from op shops. I was an international flight attendant. So I'd land in a city and we'd go out shopping. It's just what we did. And so I think, had that conversation have come up 5 years earlier, I would have been 5 years better off in being a lot more aware of what I was doing each and every day, and how I can change my habits to be positive. So yeah, so there's two sides of that. I think the awareness is now more about, but I don't know if that's just because I'm surrounded with those communities now. So I think that there still is a lot of maybe ignorance, or just unknowing.
And I know in my own personal journey, it's kind of been a bit of a rabbit hole. I thought I was doing quite well with my upcycling, and then the more I do, the more I find I have to do. And it's almost like the more I commit to this thing, the more it pushes back on me and says to me, now show me what your commitment looks like. Have you had that experience?
Absolutely. Yeah, I really have. And it's almost like the universe pushing you, going, are you for real? Like, are you serious? Because the problem is, I'm certain that the problem is a lot bigger than what I even see it. And I actually go through moments of, am I doing enough? Because, you know, a few little bits of fabric, if they went to landfill, like, I'm not really making a difference. And, you know, you go through moments of that, but I think more than the few bits of fabric that I'm saving from landfill, it's more the conversations that it started. If people not necessarily want one of my chairs, but if they see one of my chairs and are intrigued by it and ask the question. And I mean, I've had that plenty of times at exhibitions when I've been there, and people have sort of asked further, and we've got into a really big, deep conversation about it. And I feel like they've walked off going, I'm going to look at life differently, you know? So it is, yeah, it's quite important to not just think that you're not making a big enough step, just continuing on no matter what. So, but it is definitely a rabbit hole.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. It's lovely that you're saying to people, just start where you are and do what you can, and don't feel like it's not enough. That's a great insight. Thank you. And what advice would you give to somebody who's thinking about making upcycled textile products to sell?
Just go for it. Just try. I really feel like any creative process is just that. It's a process, and it's not an instant, I've got an idea, it's going to sell straight away. I feel like part of it is the importance of your journey yourself. Like when I first I had this idea to weave fabric scraps into the back of the chairs, and I did that first chair and I was really happy with how it looked. But that didn't mean that all of a sudden I had a business of upcycling and selling. You know, the standard upholstery part of my business has been, you know, the main part of my business, but it's the upcycling part of my business that is the passion behind it. So they sort of feed each other in a way. So I think keep going is my main, that's really what I want to say, is just keep going, because it might not be the first thing that you make. It could be more about what you learn about yourself, what you learn about upcycling, what you learn about the creative process in the beginning makes for a far better business model in the end of an upcycling business. So yeah, it's not just I don't think it's a one-step process. I think it is a journey, and it's I guess, like what we said before, you know, how much do you want it and how much are you inspired by it, and to keep yourself on a really positive thought process about it, and surrounding yourself with other people that are encouraging as well. I think that's really important.
Do you ever envision a day where maybe you will stop buying new resources at all and shift completely exclusively to upcycled textiles?
I would love that. So my goal with upholstery, so depending on what what type of furniture I'm reupholstering, there are some foams that are used, and as you know, foams can't be reused. It has to be new, and it's full of chemicals, and that's part of it that I despise. So if it is a style of frame that I can do traditional upholstery, because they're all natural fibers in there, I will certainly do that. But with upholstery, it's really, I'm still finding my feet with that. That's absolutely a thought process, and I go through it. It must be every few days. It's ticking away in the back of my brain, going at, like, how can I make this completely 100% either upcycled or natural fibers that are going to break down and not cost the planet. So it's absolutely in the back of my mind. I just need to sort of work out how that works with today's furniture as well. Today's furniture that's getting made, it's all getting made with foam. So I've even sort of had the thought of, how do I make an equivalent to foam that's just as good, and it be in an upcycled way or in a natural fiber that's going to break down. So it's constantly on my mind.
So the reason I ask that question is when I started the Upcycled Cloth Collective 5 years ago, I used to sell tie-dye kits. So I would buy chemicals, I would package them in plastic, and I would ship them. And after 2 years of the Cloth Collective, I found myself in such conflict with myself that I actually took the business and gave it away.
Wow.
I had stockists and agents who were buying from me, who were dependent on the revenue they were getting out of that business. But I could not hold in my space those two realities. It was just, I was too conflicted. So I totally understand where you're at in your thought process, because I've been there myself.
Yeah.
So
wow.
You're on a brave journey. Well done for facing those tough questions. So what do you enjoy the most about working with Upcycled Textiles and being involved in this upcycled textile world?
Okay, what I absolutely love the most is that you can find little bits and pieces of all these either yarns or fabrics or, you know, bits and pieces that individually they look nice and they're, you know, they've got meaning. But it's more when you weave them all together. And I often think of it as like, you know, seeing all these little misfits because they're just the bits that would be thrown away. But putting them together, I feel like it intensifies the power behind the fiber. I feel like it just creates a deeper story and more meaning. And it's really beautiful to see, you know, one piece. Just before actually I snipped a bit of trim off one of the chairs that I'm doing, and I looked at it and it was almost like I was saying to the fiber, you're going to be so meaningful in the right setting, so you're not just going to the bin. So I really love how it's almost like they create their own story, and it's just really, I just feel like I'm the facilitator, but they sort of tell me what is going to happen.
Oh, that's beautiful. So your fabric talks to you.
It does.
I'm
saying that I'm crazy, but yes.
No, so in the early days of the Cloth Collective, one of our security questions that we had was what inspires you most about textiles? And it was amazing how many people responded that fabric actually talks to them.
Oh,
so,
that warms my heart. I love that.
Yeah, you're not alone in that feeling. So what do
Great.
you enjoy the most about being a part of our Upcycled Cloth Collective community, specifically on Facebook?
I am so inspired by the community, not only for what they make and their ideas, but just it's got a really beautiful family feel. Like it's very comforting, and I feel like I could put anything up there and have words of encouragement. It's a very beautiful space to be a part of. It really is a beautiful space. But as well as that, all the amazing things that come up, and I just love seeing everyone's photos and seeing their ideas, and I find it really fascinating to see where their ideas come from and how they've come up with those ideas and things like that. It's really beautiful.
I always say that encouragement is our superpower. I believe we'll get further spreading our cause out into the world if we can just be encouraging about it. It's not rocket science. We can just encourage each other in a warm way. And actually a big role that our admin team plays is to actually filter out anybody who is negative in the group. So you guys don't see it, but behind the scenes, our admin team are hard at work removing anybody who says negative things. So
wow, well, you've done an amazing job, because it really is a place, and it goes to what I was saying earlier about on social media and what my role is to encourage people using, you know, offcuts and upcycled textiles and things like that. So you're creating the perfect space for that.
yay. Thank you for being a part of it. I appreciate you adding your energy to what we're doing, because we can't do it alone.
Thank you so much.
Where can we find your upcycled textiles if we want to buy them?
So I've got a website, antiquate.com.au,
Okay.
and then I've also got a Facebook page, Antiquate by Kerri Hollingsworth, and
Okay.
over on Instagram, I'm at antiquate_artistry.
Okay, I will include all of your links with the video when I
Thank,
post it on the various networks.
thank you so much.
Kerri, thank you so much for this wonderful conversation you've had with me today. I appreciate your time and your energy and your enthusiasm so much. Do you have any parting words before we go?
No, I just really wanted to say thank you to you for this wonderful experience, because it's really lovely to be amongst your group, and yeah, I'm just really appreciative. So thank you
Okay.
so much.
Have a beautiful day and make beautiful things.
No, thank you so much. You too.